Planet Mission Part 1 by David Claiborne, as read by the author. New chapters every Monday. The full novel is available on Amazon.com and other online retailers. Links in the description. Chapter 27. Regrets. Molly let out a gasp that caught the group's attention, and they all turned to see what had alarmed her. Jonathan regretted his quip immediately, and his face grew grim. With the monster dead, the situation unfolded before them. The APOC had captured Jazzy and pinned her to a root upside down through her ankles. Her face was beet red and swollen from blood running to her head. Her jaw was broken and hung askance and loose. Her tongue flapped uselessly in her mouth, bisected down the middle. Streams of blood flowed from the corners of her mouth. She coughed and threatened to aspirate. "Quickly, get her down," the mayor said. Molly ran forward to Jazzy and tried to lift her head, but could do no more than tilt her neck forward. Jazzy winced with pain. Waters and Jonathan grabbed at her legs and attempted to pull her down. Jazzy gave a guttural cry of pain so grotesque they could not stand it, and they let go. The clothing around her torso was in tatters. They pulled back the shredded cloth and found that the APOC had riveted her fast to the tree through her hip and shoulder. They stared helplessly, none of them sure what to do. "We have to get her down," Molly said in no small distress, tears flowing down her cheeks. Jazzy looked back through eyes soaked wet with pain and desperation and pled silently for help. She dared not move. Then her chest heaved and her eyes suddenly stared out at nothing with an intensity unlike anything they had seen. Her head and neck went limp in Molly's arms. Blood flowed from her mouth, followed by an unsettling rattle, and she was still. Her half-open eyes gazed out at nothing, forever. They did get Jazzy down eventually. They splintered the APOC's spine so they could remove enough of the pieces to take her body down. They had nothing to cover her, so Junebug lent his mission jacket. They lay her body on the back of an Arcuda and rode to camp. It mourned with them, though it held its head with dignity, honored to carry her. The mayor sung in low tones to himself. "We will take her into the city and prepare the body for you," the mayor said when they arrived back at camp. "We appreciate it," Junebug said. "That would be fine," Waters said. "We'll need to know how you want her body handled," the mayor said. "That would be a question for Director Waters," Molly said. Waters did not know what to do. No one responded. "Where's Bo?" Molly asked, suddenly missing him. "Wasn't he with us?" Junebug asked. "Now that you mention it, I don't remember him, but I thought he was with us the whole time," Tommy said. "The rover's gone," Junebug said. "He wouldn't have just left with it. He wouldn't have left, would he?" Waters asked. "Call him," Molly suggested. Waters opened his phone, but it was no use. "There's too much interference. I can see you, Junebug, Tommy, but not Bo. He must be too far away already." "Or he turned off his phone," Tommy said. "I'm sure he had a good reason to go. He probably wanted to report to the administration," Waters said. "But he wouldn't have known about this any more than we did until we found her. Why did he leave?" Tommy said. "Look, we don't even know that it was him who took the rover," Waters said. "There's no one else who could have," Junebug said. They stood, puzzled. But why? They asked themselves. "The guilty flee when none pursue," Tommy said with a note of grave significance. They looked at him, disbelieving. "The APOC killed Jazzy, not Bo," Waters said. "We all saw it," Junebug said. "All we know is that he came to tell us that he had not seen Jazzy since they got back," Tommy said. "One may be responsible for killing without doing the act," the mayor said, "but you're also right. We don't know what his part may have been in this, and he may have had legitimate reasons for leaving so quickly." "Unlikely," Jonathan said, chiming in at last. The mayor shot a look to quiet Jonathan, but his heart was not in it. "Let's see to what is at hand. There will be plenty of time for answers later. Most likely this is a simple tragedy. We will take care of the doctor. In the meantime, see to yourselves." The mayor, Molly, and Jonathan parted with Jazzy's body and returned to the city. They left Junebug, Tommy, and Waters alone at camp. Feelings of heaviness weighed on Waters. He both felt the emotional weight of Jazzy's loss and the physical sensation of her absence in his shoulders and chest at the same time. That night he could not sleep. He was certain none of them slept much. They were quiet, but it was the quiet of people pretending to sleep, not the comfortable wheeze of those in slumber. Waters arose the next morning before the sun and returned to the place where Jazzy had died. He looked down into the hollow. There lay the apoc's skin in a heap, untouched and forgotten, devoid of life and substance if it ever had any. If there truly was a creature of pure evil, this was surely one of them. "You should take it," a voice said. It was Jonathan. Waters did not need to ask what he was doing there. They were there to exercise the previous day, each in his own way. "An apoc skin is more than just a hunting trophy," Jonathan said. "It is a symbol that you've overcome something truly wicked and made the world safer. It's a sign you are committed to self-sacrifice for the sake of those around you. You should take it. We would be honored to make it into a shema for you." "I think I understand its symbolism. I understand what it means to have a shema, too. I'm grateful for that. I don't think I would have been even a few days ago, but I am now. I don't think I should have it, though." Waters began to choke up, and the words caught in his throat. Jonathan knelt down next to Waters while he waited respectfully for him to continue. "You know, Waters paused for a few moments while he composed himself. "I am responsible for her death. I helped capture the APOC, and it was me who let it go. I was spiteful toward the mayor, toward you, toward the rest of the colonists, and I wanted to show that you're wrong, not just about the APOC, about everything. I thought if you were wrong about this one thing, it would somehow prove you were wrong about the rest too, but it was stupid. I don't even feel like I was myself when I let it go," Waters said after composing himself for a few moments. "You may not have been yourself," Jonathan replied. "We don't fully understand, but the APOC can affect you. Each person is different, but they somehow influence you just by their presence. They cause thoughts you would normally push out of mind to surface, and you act on impulses you would normally abhor. They search out and amplify the darkest parts of yourself. That's what makes them dangerous. They are strong and can cause great harm, but it's how they torment you with your own thoughts that causes the greatest injury." Waters nodded, feeling comfort from Jonathan's words. Jonathan continued, "And you're right. You are responsible for her death." Waters' heart dropped out of his chest. "Do not try to delude yourself otherwise that you weren't," Jonathan continued. "That will only form scars of denial, and you would be lying to yourself. It's painful now. The pain will always be there, though it will get easier each day." Jonathan looked at Waters with great meaning, and Waters understood that what Jonathan said was meant for the sake of offering comfort, but he was also relating something personal but unspoken. "Admitting your part is the first step in forgiving yourself for what happened," Jonathan said. "That doesn't mean you won't face consequences, but you'll be prepared to accept them, and you can't forgive others until you first forgive yourself." Waters did not want to believe there might be consequences for his part in Jazzy's death, but Jonathan was right. "I know it was the APOC that killed her, but there's a direct line between when I let it go and her death. I don't want to believe there might be consequences, but you're right. Jazzy already paid the greatest price for my mistakes. I'll accept what happens to me." Speaking these words, Waters felt a wave of relief wash over him. It did not replace his sadness, but he felt he could move forward. Jonathan placed his hand on Waters' shoulder. "Congratulations, Alex. You have just repented." Jonathan clapped his hand on Waters' back. "Come on, that's enough grief for now. You all should feed me breakfast." When Waters and Jonathan returned to camp, they found Tommy and Junebuck in somber moods, but Tommy had his cowboy coffee brewing, and the scent revived them in a way that rivaled the beety fruit's power. Jonathan helped make biscuits of flour, milk, and honey straight from the produce of the valley in a cast-iron pot he seemed to summon from nowhere. Instead of cooking it over a gas stove, they set the pot amidst coals. The aroma set their mouths watering. The pot steamed when they opened it a few minutes later, as did the biscuits when they pulled them apart. Pads of homemade butter melted instantly in the steaming biscuits, and they savored their breakfast as each ate his fill. The pot never left them wanting. They drank cool fermented viti juice. It fizzed pleasantly in their mouths and livened their spirits. They cooked up the eggs of some native fowl, which they fried and seasoned with salt. Just as breakfast was winding down, Molly joined them. They exchanged pleasantries and stood awkwardly. They knew the questions she needed answered. The breakfast had been good. It was a shame to see more serious matters take its place. "We need to decide what to do with Jazzy," she said. There was a moment of silence. "I think by regulation we should contact Mufasa for guidance," Waters offered, "but we can't. I suspect that's what Bo and Jazzy, what they were trying to do with the rover before it happened. They don't seem to have been successful, and I can't think of anything we could try that they would not have already attempted." "Except returning to the spaceport to make the call ourselves," Junebug said. "We could take my flyer since he took the rover," Tommy suggested. "We're not supposed to go anywhere near the spaceport," Jonathan said, shaking his head. "Not after the accusations made against the colonists on Alpha Centauri B and what happened to them. We avoid anything looking even remotely like interference with Earth's projects to keep ourselves safe from even the most modest allegation." "I wish we knew why he took it," Waters said. "Maybe he was one step ahead of us," Junebug said. "He couldn't have known what would happen," Molly said. "We could ask for permission, though, right? About flying," Waters said. "We could ask," Jonathan said. "I'm not sure we should wait that long," Molly said. "The colonists can keep Jazzy for as long as we need. That's not the problem. It doesn't feel right not to do something sooner." "Did she have any family?" Junebug asked. "I don't know. Now that I think about it, I didn't know her that well. Not nearly as well as I should have," Waters said with a touch of guilt. "Did she tell you anything?" He looked at Molly. She looked away. "It's true, she treated me, but we didn't talk about family, at least not about her family. My family came up all the time, but I really don't know anything about her. We could check the records. Without the rover, our ability to connect to Mufasa's database is very limited. Everything else was lost in the storm." "Bo, why did you just leave like that?" Waters said to no one in particular. No one had a solution. They stood looking at the dirt for a few moments. Jonathan finally spoke up. "This is really your decision to make. She was part of your group. But if it were up to us, we would bury her." "Here on Polus?" Junebug asked. "Would you cremate her? We don't usually bury people," Waters said. "It is our practice to bury people when they pass. We don't cremate the dead. You could pick a place where you would like her buried. Some place you could visit, and others could visit later if they wanted, if there's anyone to visit her," Jonathan suggested. Waters looked at the other missionaries. "What do you think?" "I don't think we should wait to contact the administration. That would take too long," Junebug said. "Even if we do find some way to contact them, who knows how long it would take to get a response." "If the colonists are offering, I think we should bury her here," Molly said. "What do you think, Tommy?" Waters asked. Tommy looked surprised to be asked for his opinion. "I'm not one of the missionaries. I don't think it should be my decision." "You're one of us, though," Molly said. "Yes, just because you don't wear the same patch doesn't mean we don't want to hear what you have to say," Waters said. "I think we should bury her here. It's what the Marines would do if we couldn't bring someone home. It's the best way to show respect for her passing," he said. They looked at each other and concurred. It was nice to decide together. "I'll let the city know," Molly said. The missionaries selected a spot across the river near the base of the valley where the meadow ended and the trees began. None of them had buried anyone before. The funeral was not quick. It was hard work. They had to dig a deep hole, which would have been difficult work in itself, but the moon resisted their efforts, making it harder. Fortunately, the colonists lent their hands, including Jonathan. They could have dug the grave in a few moments with their machinery, but the mayor told them this way would be better. The mayor was right, in a way. It felt better to dig the hole. With each shovel, they seemed to be preparing a place for her to rest. When it came time to finally lay Jazzy in the ground, the team of missionaries and Tommy gathered around the hole. A few of the colonists attended out of respect, including the mayor. They carried Jazzy forward in a fine-looking wooden coffin, handmade by one of the colonists. It was far simpler than the kind of urn they would have used on Earth, but felt more appropriate. They placed the coffin on the side of the grave atop several ropes. The mayor asked, "Have any of you done this before?" They shook their heads. "Would you like me to conduct a service?" he asked. "I don't think we're sure what that means, Mr. Mayor, but that would be kind of you," Waters said for the group. The mayor read the funeral ceremony from a book. The words were clearly religious, but none of the missionaries objected. He finished speaking, then motioned toward the coffin. Jonathan and 2 colonists took the ropes. Jonathan looked over his shoulder at the missionaries. Waters, Tommy, and Junebuck stepped forward. Together they lowered her coffin into the grave. The mayor took a handful of earth and threw it on top of the coffin, touching his forehead, stomach, and both shoulders as he did so. The missionaries in turn also took handfuls of earth, tossing them on the coffin, though only Junebuck imitated the sign the mayor had made. Molly added a bouquet of flowers and leaves, then they covered the coffin in the same way they had dug the grave. 1 shovelful of dirt at a time, until at last the ground was level. The colonists set a plain headstone. It read, Jazariah Beebe, M.D. Waters added 1 last shovel of dirt, then went to stand next to Molly, where he planted the shovel in the ground.